Welcome back to Rome Boys. On this episode, we got a bear in the house.
Oh, here we go.
Bear Woznick is a world champion surfer, certified ninja black belt, and sought-after speaker. He is the host of the Bear Woznick Adventure radio program and EWTN's motorcycle-based immersive reality show, Long Ride Home with Bear Woznick. A Benedictine oblate, Bear is the author of several books including A Surfer's Guide to the Soul, Deep Adventure, The Way of Heroic Virtue, and 12 Rules of Manliness, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? Learn more about Bear's Man Cave and Bear's School of Manliness at deepadventure.com.
Aloha.
Aloha from Waikiki Beach. It's a tough day today. I've been working here in my office. I'm looking out at just perfect surf coming in. Diamond Head's just right over here, and the surf's right in front of my house. In fact, if you look at Surf News Network, there's a surf cam up in here. People can look down and see the surf. It was just perfect waves. And
You're stuck with us.
I'm glad to be with you guys.
We have a wave of drought and dust, that we get to peer out the windows.
Yeah, you don't surf many of those dunes, but
I remember being in Waco, Texas. I went to school there my senior year in high school, and then Baylor. I remember seeing West Texas just show up in Waco like a dust storm coming from the west. Like I had never heard of such a thing, so that was my first exposure to West Texas, and when it dumped on me.
It's kind of a funny word. We moved out here. I'm not from West Texas. My wife's family is. And all of a sudden there came this huge dust cloud. A wall. And they said, that's called a haboob.
Never heard of
it.
It
is. It's the official name. You can look it up. It comes out of the Waco, Llano Estacado. I'm sorry, not Waco. We were just talking about Waco. Lubbock, Texas. It's out of Lubbock and off the plateau there. And it covers us in dust. It's wonderful.
It's so strange how it comes as a wall.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's this wall.
Yeah. All right.
Just if we could change that to rain. All of rain.
Yes.
So. Well, Bear.
I'm glad to be talking with you guys. I'm talking to some cowboys in Texas. My new book came out.
Yeah. Awesome read. Yes.
Yes,
It was fun hearing about it when we went to the men's conference and you spoke, and they hadn't come out yet. So now we've read it, and a great read. Highly recommended to a lot of the men. And one of the best quotes, Joe, if you want to take it away, that I found from the book was this one.
A great quote is, Satan glorifies the metrosexual, porn-addicted, woke, genderless, sissified, self-seeking, glory-seeking, money-grubbing, atheistic, afraid of his own shadow, man-boy, who won't get off the couch or out of his parents' basement. Won't ask a girl out, has dogs instead of kids, has lots of toys, kind of a man boy or a man child. His greatest virtue is taking offense at whatever the latest cancel culture dictates. Don't be that man boy.
Yeah, that's the edited version. That's the edited.
Yeah.
I figured.
Yeah, that's the version for television.
It's funny that you picked that because that's how I started the book, was with that. And it was like, no, I better not let this go on too much longer because I want to be someone that's inspiring people, but I couldn't help myself. Got to get it off my chest.
I don't think God would spit it out because it's not lukewarm.
No.
Yes, right.
I respect it.
I saw something earlier this week that said, if they were to bring back the draft in the light of everything that's going on in the world right now, wars and all this stuff, if they were to bring back the draft, would we really want this generation fighting for us?
I think they would. They would man up, I think. I hope so.
Think so?
Good. That's
helpful. Well, especially because half of them would be women, so that'd be good. It is I'm Ukrainian, and it is interesting how, all this woke thing and men and women are the same type thing. But as soon as the war broke out in the Ukraine, it was the women and the children that got on the cars and the trains and headed west, and it was the men that went to fight. And all these women that say, well, we want to be equal with men. Well, does that mean you want to be able to be conscripted and be in the draft? And it really does underline the fact that there's a big difference between men and women. Men just think differently. Most men just think differently. They're the greatest was telling my wife the other day, there's two things. My wife is so wonderful. She's a cowgirl, she was a cowgirl in Florida, barrel racing woman, full of grace. But I think there's two things that men really want their woman to bring to them, and that's the way a woman shows love for a man is to respect him, and then to bring peace into his life. And that's kind of a classic thing for a woman to do, because a real man should be out there battling, providing for his family and coming up with the tuition that the children need to do their sports or go to a Christian school. And but men should be out there waging war, and they need a woman that will respect their effort, respect them, affirm them is a better way to say it, and then who brings peace and not chaos into their life. And I'm the luckiest. I'm so fortunate because Cindy, she affirms me sometimes with just surprising ways. She'll just affirm me, and then there's so much peace in my life. You know where she's going right now? She's going to Starbucks to get me a coffee with iced coffee. Because
you're in Hawaii.
She sees I've been working really hard and I might need to pick me up. So, yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. But we need, for a man, if a man wants to attract a woman like that in his life, he has to be worthy of her. And I think this book challenges and encourages men. That's okay to be a man, and we need men to be men. Women all over, when we go speak, we'll get surrounded before we can even get out of the rental car with our books or whatever. There'll be a dozen or half a dozen women right there, and they're telling us, please tell the men we need for them to be men.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like you guys.
Yeah. Your story is great. And we got to share some time with you here in San Angelo at the men's conference. And
I want to come back. I want to come back. Do you know what happened to me in San Angelo, by the way?
I know. You had a great time.
But I was so exhausted when I got there. My iPhone had updated, and it had switched a switch that said, don't ride on any freeways.
Oh, no.
Oh,
so going from the airport, it took me on all these back roads. And took me forever. And then going back, it did. I know, why am I going through the most destitute part of Fort Worth? And so when I got there, I was so exhausted. And then finally, the next week, I'm driving here in Waikiki, and I'm going, why is it not let me on the freeway? I suppose I should be on the freeway. And then I got suspicious, but.
Man, that's right, because it's only like a 3.5 hour drive from Fort Worth from DFW to
I was going through
the
dangerous parts of town.
It's took you like 5 hours, right?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
But the good news is I found a Whataburger, so it made it all worth it.
Yeah. Well, the truth.
I will say, San Angelo put its best foot forward, and you were the keynote speaker of the men's conference of the Diocese of San Angelo, and we're a pretty young diocese, only been around about 50 years or so. And the bishop was there, and if you recall, said that it was the largest men's group of men ever assembled in the Diocese of San Angelo.
Oh, that's cool. Let's do it
again. So there's some encouragement for you. Yeah,
I'll fly into Lubbock maybe this time.
Men are definitely yearning for your message, Bear. And I have to say, I'm a husband and a father of 6 girls, and so
awesome.
Women need us in their life, and they want us in their life. And there's several books out there that are written to this, strong father, strong daughters, and there's a lot of good stuff in there. I'm not saying I'm endorsing the book, but it's a good read.
Good.
Yeah, it's a good read.
I think daughters really, for a lot of, well, I will tell you this: we'll have more women read this book than men.
Really interesting.
Absolutely,
because they're literate.
2 to 1, yeah. But I mean, I think I've been on a lot of shows, women, and they've read the book, and some of them have read it with their husbands, and they want their daughters to read it too, because it really lets them know. First of all, this is what's the way a guy's wired, in case you're wondering, and it's not too hard to figure out. But first of all, it's very simple wiring. but and this is the type of man you want to find. And don't you agree we get kind of go places people might not expect? Like, we get pretty gritty in certain areas, and people might go, oh, but it's quite the opposite. People, I need to get fit, for example, or yeah,
Right.
I need to know how to fight if I have to fight. It's like a father, son, or brother to brother. Here's my tandem girl. Thank you, Tandem Bride.
You got your Starbucks.
Excellent. Oh, it looks
I
half
was
drink.
telling-
I'm sorry.
I would never go into a Starbucks, but Cindy, I'm so hooked on it now.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. He brought you down on that one, though. Bringing Stone.
Took me down a
I like
notch.
in the core of your book, you talk about real men build the inner man, build up your wife, build up your children and those around us. And when I was reading that, it just resonated like Rome Boys, and what we started and how this has gone and what you've done through your
Yes.
whole ministry for all these years and how many
Yeah.
men and women you're talking about, how you've touched. And it's just amazing to look back and like, wow, God has done so much through.
Look at you guys.
all of us.
Yeah. You always, people will go, well, I don't have a men's group in my church. Well, it takes you and two other guys, and that's what you guys are doing. But
Yeah,
Jesus,
absolutely.
he wasn't a carpenter, they say he was a carpenter. The Greek word is teknon, which
Yep.
means builder.
Mhm.
And he probably worked more with rock, or he probably would have taken Peter someplace and say, "You're wood, and upon this foundation of wood, I'll build my church." He was probably worked in rock. There's only one I think there's one wooden house in Israel, and it's the prime minister's house, but there's no wood there.
Mhm.
Oh,
And so to be a builder and to leave a legacy and to build a family, it's in our nature. I mean, the first thing a guy does when he goes out in the woods, he's gonna, build. If you're in a survival mode, first thing you're gonna build a little lean-to or put up a tent, build a fire. It's just in our nature to do that.
Yeah,
absolutely. Now we're gonna have to change our name to Rome Men.
Yeah.
Boys.
Yes. Yeah.
And I really appreciated your interview with and your conversation with Doug Barry. He
That rookie.
just, I mean,
Still learning. No.
yeah. Talking about how it kind of inspired your interest in the ministry, and that what attracted you to it was that he was a man. It was, I think, BRC originally, battle ready,
Mhm.
and that's kind of what drew you back in, right, to ministry.
Well, it was a little bit more like, this was my calling. Now what do I do with it? Because I had just returned to the church.
Yeah.
And I found, a friend of mine sent me his newsletter, and I go, well, I'm got to go talk to this guy. So I flew out to Nebraska, and he was so great, wasn't he? Because I said, well, you go through the chapter titles of my book with me, and he did that.
Mm-hmm.
He's
great.
the real thing. Yeah, the real thing. Yeah.
He definitely cares about people. I mean, and so I can see the similarities in your contribution to men of the faith and how we need to support each other and lift each other up. So it's great to have you on the show, and come support all the men of our diocese. It really has sparked something. Something has changed in our diocese, and
it really has.
I'm serious. And to the point, I mean, even our bishop has been inspired. He said this about the men that are doing great things. I mean, we've got 13 seminarians, which we're really spread out diocese. It's one of the smallest populations, but the largest
mission territory. I mean, totally.
We're going to give you the credit because we don't want any.
I know, but I like the younger men that came too.
Yeah,
there's
There
lots
were
of
younger guys there. Yeah, there were a few that were really stood out. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, indeed.
You talk about developing your own creed or your own code, your man code. Can you tell us more about how to do that, or developing your own?
Well, I don't know. First off, you can see behind me, there's a bookcase down below, the lower bookcase.
Yep.
That's all Louis L'Amour Westerns.
Nice.
I've got every one of his leather bound. When I was a poor young dad, I would get one of his books once a month, delivered to me. I was like Book of the Month Club of Louis L'Amour. And one of his quotes, John Wayne quotes, a lot of the Westerns were based on his books. His men were always striving for virtue, and the women were strong, which was very rare in those days for women to be portrayed like that. But in one of the movies that was based on his book, John Wayne says, a man's got to have a creed, a code he can live by. And I pondered that, and it's really two different things. The creed for me is that one sentence, maybe two, that defines you as a man and how God's wired you. Like, it's not just that the Apostles' Creed, like, to know, love, and serve God in this world, but the way God wired you. Like in mine, my creed is the most radical quest a man can pursue in life is to abandon himself to the wild adventure of God's will. Well, that's kind of the way God wired me, you know. And I think all men are hardwired. They come factory loaded, you know, with a desire to be a hero and to have adventure. But how do you specifically think your personal creed is? And then I'm a Benedictine Oblate. My books just all fell down over here. I don't have it right here, but I have the rules of Saint Benedict that as a living in my station in life, I try to live by those rules. So these chapters, these dozen rules that I've outlined here in the book, I could have written another 12, but these are the ones that really stood out to me as ways that I want to. How will I live out my creed? You know, example is I talk about bridling the horse so that good things can run wild. You know, how a man treats a woman defines him, things like that. So each man needs to work that out. And I think it's important to sit down and actually to write. You know, when people come out here to Hawaii, it's interesting how that people just kind of get thrown up on the shore here and we bump into them, or sometimes they come on purpose. And eventually I'll just tell them, you go to the top of this mountain here, or you go over here by the edge of the water here, and you write your thoughts down, write a letter to the Lord, write what you think he might be saying to you. Writing things down helps you to clarify really your mission. And I remember there was a verse, Habakkuk, that says, it was a real important verse to me when I was still in my teens, actually. I'm sorry, my phone, I don't know how to turn off the alarm. But write the vision down in letters big enough so the one who's running can read it while he's running. So write it with clarity and rewrite it. And then I have probably 20 or 30 leather bound blank books that over the years I've written. I write down my thoughts when there's an inspiration, and also and writing to the Lord and writing back what I think he might be saying to me, and then writing down the kind of nudges that I think are from the Holy Spirit. And then, you know, like starting the TV show Long Ride Home, that was a nudge, you know, moving to Hawaii, pedaling my bicycle across the United States. Every one of those started out with me writing something in a leather book.
You rode your bike from the States to Hawaii?
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, I did that too. No, I pedaled from San Diego to Jacksonville.
Oh, goodness. God.
Motivation.
I went through, mostly it was going through Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense. 24 hours from El Paso to
it was
to
like,
the Sabine
I just
River,
remember
right?
8 days, and Tropical Storm Allison had come up from the south, and it was pushing me back towards El Paso.
And how old were you when you did that? Because I just did 30 miles the other day, and I thought it was a big deal.
Almost.
I don't know. I think I would say I was in my late 40s, maybe, or my 40s.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I got to do this.
Stunning.
I want to do it, man. That sounds exciting. Yeah.
You do? You want to do that?
That sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. You can do it.
It'd be cool to do it with a community of guys and other Catholics. I mean, there'd be husbands and
like
wives or whatever else.
do the Camino, you know.
Yeah.
Do it in the
Our
United
in-laws
States.
did that a few years back.
Really?
Yes, it was a great experience. Even the local newspaper was taking pictures of them here in Old West Texas because they were practicing with their backpacks
That's
on
so
in
cool.
town. So it was.
And they're still married.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I've been on part of the Camino. So I used to go surf down in that area of southern France, the Basque country, right by the Pyrenees, and go over the hill. We'd surf. We'd go over the hill early in the morning, run with the bulls, and then come back up because the Pamplona Festival would run at the same time as the Oxbow event would run in Biarritz. Wow. So it was good times. But
wow,
that's adventure. What a full life, Bear. You keep talking about building, and you reference, Jesus, really was saying he's a builder, and I'm just keep hearing Dave Ramsey quoting, if you know Dave Ramsey, the Christian financial advisor, this man began to build without first counting the cost. And I really, it's just resonating with me with the 12 points that you laid out, and the fact that, we're here to be productive, right? To go out and to go forth, just like, Misa Mass to get out and go do something. And, the quote that the guys picked out here, or that we picked out, really kind of points to the fact that there's a lot of laziness going on, and we're called for greatness. And you're just calling us to the carpet as men, right?
Well, Jesus said something. He said, "The Father and I, we work, and even now we work."
Yeah,
and work's a beautiful thing. I can't imagine not. I'm going to tell you guys something. I'm 70 years old.
I would have never guessed, man.
Yeah, no, I know. I can't believe it either. But I still surf regularly, and I've got radio show, TV show, writing, speaking, and then I have my CPA firm to support my family, right? So,
gosh,
but so being a work is it gives a man dignity, and it's a blessing. Of course, we live in a fallen world, so we have to work is a little bit more. It's harder than it maybe what otherwise would have been, but still that work is what trains us in virtue, so it's in our nature. And I was talking to a beautiful priest was here last year, and his father Bryce Lundgren, who's a cowboy and Catholic cowboy priest in Wyoming, his new book, The Catholic Cowboy Way, and then Father Joe Paddock. And we were talking, Father Bryce and I were talking about how we're going to be working in heaven. There's going to be really cool things we're going to be doing in heaven. Where Father Joe said, no, I'm just going to be beholding the God, and it's probably true for each of us. That may be Father Joe's great work is just to behold the Lord. But for me, which is our greatest work, right, is to minister to the Lord. But then also there's going to be cool things we're going to be doing there and here. So, yeah, work is what gives a man dignity.
Isn't it one of the 3 legs of the Benedictine stool, right?
Yes. Yeah. To pray and to work.
Yeah.
And Pope, I believe it was Pope, I forget which Pope now. I quoted in my book who wrote about work. I think it was maybe JP2. He was
probably, yeah.
He was referencing, it was the 50-year anniversary, I think, of Reverend Devarim, I think.
Yeah.
Like that. But the dignity of work, it's not a curse. The curse part is that we have to do it by the sweat of our brow, but it's so cool to have that, as we say in Hawaii, kuleana, which means to have responsibility. It's more than responsibility. It's like, this is who I am. It's I own my responsibility. It's my kuleana. Don't mess with my kuleana. This is my kuleana. So
it's a purpose,
Yes, and it's like you're born a male, but you got to become a man, and it's responsibility that does that.
And I like that quote.
John Paul II's first book, love and responsibility, they go hand in hand.
Wow. Yeah, I do I
like that quote. This world with all of its transitioning needs to hear about you're born a male, but you need to become a man.
Yeah, John Paul II, praise God for his writings, on the gospel of the theology of the body. He spent so much time quoting Genesis 1 and 2. It's where he kept going back to.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Interestingly enough, 1 John 1 all the way through, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God, and all the great stuff. And way to go.
Oh, God.
So talking about building, once we started Rome Boys, spiritual warfare was not even on my radar. And then all of it, once we started this, wow. And I don't think very many men realize we're in a battle. And if they knew we were in a battle, then my goodness, I think they would rise up and see. But so a lot of times, you say they're in defensive posture. We need to be in attack mode. I haven't heard that in very many circles from a lot of people, and that just makes me want to rise up and do something about it.
Yeah.
Praise God, and you guys are. It's like I'm so sad because back there, my books, I've got a 7-volume set by Warren Carroll on Christendom, which I've read through, and it's one of those books you outline, you underline every single word. And there was this one general, Spanish general, that he talks about, and I lost track of where that was. I went back in and tried to find it. Probably didn't underline it, but he was known for only having wounds on the front of his body. He was so scarred up on the front, but not on the back, because he was always on the attack. And when Jesus said, I will build my church, speaking of building, and the gates of hell won't prevail against it, that kind of sounds like, it's not like gates attack people, We're supposed to attack gates. And it was a great thing back in the Roman days to be the first one over the gate, over the wall, or the first one into the city. that's why Paul was so beautiful in the fact that he would brag on the fact that he was the first one let out of a basket over a wall. He was the opposite direction, but took great humility to say that. But we, and when I would ride with the guys in the pack in the Long Ride Home TV series, people would ask me, "Do you ever come under spiritual attack when you're out there?" And I'll tell you, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. But I would say, no, we're not under anything. We were on the attack, and we faced resistance. But when I hear men go, "Oh, the woke culture these days, they make fun of us in the commercials and on the TV shows, and the women have taken over the church," and sounds like a bunch of victims. The only reason that happened is because we let it happen, and I think it happened at that point when the pill arrived. And men began to say, in their own little coquettish way, "If you really loved me, you would go to bed with me. Take the pill," And so when men were able to have pleasure and not responsibility, it sissified them. Thomas Aquinas says that his definition of an effeminate man is one who just seeks pleasure. And that's my paraphrase. But I think pill was the way the men just, it just sounds like a little high school girl, very coquettish. If you really love me, this. And so women finally broke the social contract with each other. And now men don't even now pornography is in such a full-on assault that so many men just fall to that. They don't even need a woman to be satisfied, And so there's this huge cowardly. I was interviewed the other day, and someone said, "Be a cowboy, not a coward." Men need to man up and seek to be the virtuous man that will attract a good woman.
What I'm constantly reminded
as I drink my Starbucks coffee.
That's what I'm reminded of right here. Like, come on, this guy's that it's not as if if there's no battle between good and evil. God wins. I mean, we know the punchline to the story. So I think what I'm reminded of, and I like to share with other folks, is women really do have an innate desire to have a strong man to lead the home. It's all God's design, and we're built with that within us. So we don't need to go to the battlefield of life thinking that we've lost the battle and we've got to convince these women that we're what they desire. It's built within all of us. We just have to live out the
there
gospel.
You go. Even the women that sleep around and play around, when it's time for them to get married, they're not looking for those guys. They're not looking for man boys. They're looking for a good man. Yeah. So men should take courage. And as Paul said, be the man, act like men. And I like the verse, where the angel spoke to Joseph, "Don't be afraid to take Mary to you as your wife." Men are afraid. Don't be afraid. Maybe you're going to bear the battle scars. I did. I went through a relationship that didn't make it, and I raised my 4 children pretty much by myself, and then bore the battle scars of paying for big checks all the time.
Sure. Thanks for
sharing.
Was
worth it. It was worth it. And then of course going through the process with the church and the annulment and finding my beautiful bride now. But I mean, so what if you find someone, you marry them, you're devoted to them, and you lay down your life for them, and you do all the right things, and it doesn't work, at least you were in the battle. So don't think. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just I get excited because you're telling all this, and I know your story about how you met your wife, and you're looking out this beautiful window at this beautiful surf, and this man keeps dropping this beautiful woman when he's trying to lift her up on a tandem surf, right?
I don't drop her.
And then you had your chance, and there she
was.
was.
In the book I talk about that he didn't just drop her; he hurt her.
That's right. He was
drop her and fall on top of her. Yeah, and my tandem girl. I still call her Tandem Girl because when I first met her, I couldn't remember her name. And she likes it. She likes it. I was so stunned by her that I didn't even remember my name, But I saw her being valiant and being gracious to this man who was she had such a dream. She wanted the tandem surf so bad. And so what a miracle that she and I both have been through brokenness, and, and people are afraid to admit, oh, I went through a really hard time, and I felt like a total failure when my marriage failed, but, I went to the church. I went to my pastor. I went through the process of the annulment for me was so healing and so revealing about what I'd really, as a young boy, I mean, I think I was 22 when I got married, I'd enter into a relationship that wasn't really, it wasn't, to be a marriage, it has to be not 1 + 1 = 2. It has to be a 1 × 1 = 1. But a 1 × 0 = 0. And so you need to find someone who will fully devote herself to you. And so in the book, I take a little bit of time describing, what kind of woman you want to be able to attract. My mother was a valiant, courageous woman. And I remember when I met Cindy, I go, you remind me of my mom. And she didn't know what to think about that. And also, you remind me of this nun, Mother Angelica. Like, what? Yeah, because she's a bit of a spitfire,
Sure.
So there's a compliment. Yeah. Yeah.
At first, it's a little sticker shock going, what did you call me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that concept I'm reminded of because having 6 daughters, I hear, I've heard in life that, they daughters try to, whether they like to hear this or not, or want to believe it or not, they try to find someone like their dad.
Hopefully if their dad's a good dad. Yeah.
Well, that's,
I keep telling my daughters, the one they marry, it has to be better than me.
There you go.
Now, I realize I'm not setting the bar very high.
Just read that book with them. Read the book with them.
I love it. Okay.
It's a great idea.
Yeah. I'm trying to set that's a lot of pressure. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to be a schmuck because then I didn't set the bar very high, like Joe said.
Right.
Here comes this loser on my front porch one day.
Yeah, that's what I'm most afraid of is I'm going to walk up
I
on
used
the
to
porch
practice my nunchucks when the guy would come to the house, out the front yard. But there's the story of the 2 ships. You know about that story? I don't know if I even said it in the book, where
I don't think
a
so.
guy's radioing ahead saying,
Oh, yes.
I have the starboard tack, please yield. And the guy on the boat goes, no, you yield. And he goes, no, I have the starboard, I have the right of way, yield. And the other boat radios back, no, you yield. And he said, well, this is Her Majesty's ship. It's a ship of the British Navy. You have to yield. And he said, well, this is a lighthouse, and I'm not going to yield. So it's like a man should be like that. He should be a lighthouse. There's a tradition in Hawaii, the way people would sail from island to island, not only in here, but in all of Polynesia. There was this wayfinding. And the way they would do it is they'd build a fire high up on a mountain at night, of course, and then lower down on the mountain, another fire. And so if you wanted to sail from here to Molokai, which is over the horizon, you would line up those 2 fires, when you were lined up with those 2 fires. And if you sailed away from there, and then you found the 2 fires on the opposite mountain, it would take you to that place. You'd sail away till you could see the others and sail too. That's what a man needs to be. He needs to be a waypoint. And we can be like rubber bands. The further our children move away from the standards that we have, they feel that tug to come back. And I talk about that about standards in the book, how a standard is a flag it's a military statement. When the men would go into battle, they would carry that flag. It was very important. It wasn't just to say, yeah, that's our flag, isn't that great? It was so that it would be the rallying point. That standard, the flag was called the standard. And the generals from up on their hill, they could see, okay, that military, that's that group, that's that group, that's that group. They could identify by the standard. So to be the man that your children can rally to your standard is what we want to be, because it becomes a point where you can't tell them anything, right? You just have to be leading by example.
Absolutely.
The world's full of all sort of negativity, and I just want to say thanks for putting good stuff out into the world. And so for those
You
folks
guys
that
too.
are watching, thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we want to encourage people, because a lot of people that I know where do you go for information? Where do you go for encouragement? We have each other, which is great. Like you said, it only takes a few people getting together, but I think that a lot of viewers need to know that there is good information out there that's being produced in the world today, and they're called for such a time as this. And iron sharpens iron.
And the book is called 12 Rules for Manliness. Where have all the cowboys gone? But it's like I remember when I was a Boy Scout, they said it takes 3 logs to make a fire. You need the kindling and all that, but there you guys are. It took you 3 together. So to be joined,
praise God.
Our wives are going to love that analogy. We're just 3 bumps on a log.
I wasn't going to say anything. I left it out there hanging.
Yeah,
low hanging fruit.
I thought you were going to say we're on fire. Yeah,
you are.
That's
totally
a guy that I used to work with would give presentations. It says, if that doesn't fire you up, your wood's wet.
There you go.
Always a rain.
Yeah. I miss you guys, dude. That's so good being with you. When I first came here, I forgot who the Rome boys were, and then I began to recognize you when I started to sit down and look at you guys. It's just great to be with men like you. Awesome.
I appreciate it. Same to you. Same to you,
man. Just being able to have this conversation with you is just it's made my day.
Yeah,
my week, because I'm gonna edit this and I'm gonna get to watch this all week. So this is gonna be great. Yeah. Talk about it. Also, your most dangerous prayer that we could say.
Oh, isn't that a great part
of
the book? I like this.
Father, not my will, but your will be done.
Yeah,
that dangerous?
Scary but exciting, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's like an adventure by its very nature implies danger, right? And so the most dangerous prayer of all, when Jesus came and he taught the disciples. I've been to the area where it is said he taught his disciples. It's on the north shore of the Sea of Galilee, and there's a big kind of open cave where he used to pray. And Jesus teaches how to pray, and he prayed the prayer of a general. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. In other words, it's an invasion. Kingdom's coming to, it was an invasion. Thy will be done. And so Jesus was a dangerous man.
Absolutely.
And he wants us to be dangerous too. And that we become dangerous because we say that prayer, as he said it on the Mount of Olives, thy will be done. And he, as a ninja black belt, I remember in all my training, and at one point getting to be with Master Hayes. I think my first experience with Master Hayes, he's the first white ninja. He was talking about how when you're fighting, you see people, it's almost like they can read their opponent's mind. They react so fast to the fight. And he goes, well, actually, the ninja way is to stage the fight. So if someone's coming at you with a knife, you can give them the target. Now if they're on cocaine or they're crazy, they may not use. But if you hold your hands like this, they're probably not coming for your face. They're probably coming low. Or if you go like this, they may come for this part of your neck. So the good news is what the weapon is. Probably they're not going to kick you. Probably going to use the knife, and you can stage the fight to say, this is where I want him to strike me. And if so, then you already have the advantage. And so that's what Jesus did on Golgotha. He staged that fight with Satan. And we pray that prayer in the Mass that he dying you destroyed death, rising you restored life. So he took Satan's weapon, death, and he killed him with it. In essence, that's what he did. And knife fighting is so fun because it's so fun. It's so clever and so fun. But to have someone attack and before they know it, the knife has already slit their throat, and it's no longer in their hand; it's in your hand. It slits their throat while it's in their hand, and then you end up having it standing over them. But that brings to another thing is as men, and that is we're having a conversation here about the invasion that we're to have, the invasion of love that we're to have as men being part of the kingdom. But there is times when it's dangerous. I know for me, there have been occasions when I've had that experience of leading someone into their first prayer of conversion, and I've seen demons manifest. I'm not saying like huge exorcisms, but enough to where I saw the cattle prod of the Holy Spirit come out and cast that demon out, We are fighting against, we do have spiritual warfare that we're involved in, but also men need to realize that they've got a moral battle to fight. We need to be dangerous in that area too. That when someone golfing is an unusual thing because you get paired up with people sometimes. When two of you show up, they go, "Oh, we're going to pair you up with these people," and you don't know who you're going to get. And when a man speaks disrespectfully about women when we're out like that, I'll always make a point that I'll say, "You're a better man than that. You shouldn't disrespect the women." And they'll use Christ's name in vain. And I'll say, when they use that, when they'll say Jesus Christ in that way, I'll just say, the only name by which man can be saved. I don't have the power from that. Or they ask, what's your zodiac? So those are little bitty things. But to make the moral stand when people say, will you be on the pride committee? You have to say, no, it's against my convictions and my relationship with the Lord. But then there is actually a time of a physical fight. And I think every man needs to understand how his nature would cause him to fight. In the ninja world, there's earth, wind, water, fire, and the void. I'm kind of earth mode, Water mode is when you kind of, there's an attack coming, your first response is to probably go back and then strike because you don't know what's happening. And then there's wind mode when you let your opponent pass you and he pretty much uses his own energy to defeat him. What I'm saying is that some men are not going to be inclined to do certain types of martial arts, but they need to have some sort of ability. Do they have a golf club that they keep in the back of their car? In their home, is there a weapon of their choice if there's an invasion? My home, if you walk in, there's my rosary and my black belts right there at the entryway, so people know this probably isn't a victim. Demons know it too. Would you be willing to press your finger into someone's eye sockets until they go all the way in? In other words, a man needs to have a real conversation with himself about how immediate would his response be and how far would he go in a situation where he is under attack, even if his family isn't around, because if the devil takes you out, he takes out your family. So to defend yourself is to defend them. And what would you do if someone was harassing a member of your family? Or for that matter, maybe someone that you're seeing around you. So these are the kind of conversations you don't usually hear at a men's conference or a men's retreat, but a real man needs to wrestle with that. He needs to visualize that. He needs to settle it once for all. This is how far I'm willing to go if someone wants to attack me or my family.
What you're saying is resonating with what people see on, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, here we are in October, 2023, and just the last couple of weeks, I mean, the news, whatever channel, social media, about there was a gentleman in New York that was stabbed, and his wife is right there, his girlfriend. And so my concern after he was brutally stabbed by this guy who he had nothing to do with him, he was waiting, at the bus stop with his wife.
Yeah, but why wasn't he aware of this guy? Was he spatially aware?
No, obviously not. And then it was just, he had no means by his own omission, I suppose, was not able to defend himself. My worry immediately after he was on the ground was, who's going to protect his wife?
Yeah.
I was in the elevator here in our condo, and a woman was on the elevator, and I asked her, "Is that a Kubaton?" You know what a Kubaton is? It's about this long, and people use it like it's a keychain. And sometimes it has a little bit of a tip. My rosary, actually, my warrior rosary, is actually a weapon I can take on the plane. The cross has a little bit of a point, not sharp, but enough to put it here, or here, or here, or here, or other places. And she said, "Yeah, how did you know that?" Because people aren't usually aware of it. But I was very proud of her that she had a weapon. And in Montana, grizzly country, people bring spray. I think my wife has a little spray, and she also has a noisemaker with her.
Yeah.
And so it's just about being aware. Like when we walked down the street together, it got dangerous here in Waikiki during COVID because everyone was gone, and the thugs were being shipped into here from all the cities on the mainland, and they were populating right here in Waikiki. When we walk down the street, and she's always switching sides with me depending on where the danger's coming from. And then whenever there's someone kind of out of their mind, she'll look back at me And it's really her way of checking out what's going on behind us. And I remember training women in martial arts in self-defense, and someone asked me, if I'm at an ATM at night and someone comes up behind me, how do I protect myself? The simple answer is, why are you at an ATM at all?
Mm-hmm.
And why would you be at an ATM machine at night, especially?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why do you walk that close to the bushes? Why do you walk that close to a van? You know, where do you sit when you're in public? Do you sit in the alpha position where you can see what's going on? So this isn't paranoia. This is second nature, right? To just be spatially aware. And it's amazing.
It reminds me of the near occasion of sin, right? You just don't put yourself in that situation, you know?
Yeah, the best defense is not to, you know, when the grand man in the gray suit is swimming by the sharks out here, the best thing is just not to be there. Yeah. But nowadays it's just horrendous, because you walk down the street and people are walking right out into the street looking at their phones. They're not aware of all that's going on. So it's a good thing to train your family in spatial awareness. And each of my children, I had them go at least halfway to black belt, and I got to test 2 of them for their black belts, you know.
Awesome.
And having a black belt is really just a beginner level. You know, when you get to black belt, that means you're just basically a beginner, but it's like Aquinas writing the Summa. This is for beginners. But I mean, there's a lot more to learn, but I think just training enough to know that my punch can go this far. If it goes this far, I'm probably out of control. Just to know how far a kick can go, to be spatially aware of your own body's, you know, mechanics. So, yeah, men need to know how to fight, and if they don't know how to jab, punch, hook, uppercut, or do a side kick, or how to block, or learn how to grapple. The other thing is, if they can't last, you know, most fights are going to go to the ground, and they're going to go to the ground, and you're going to, and most guys are going to be exhausted before 2 minutes are up. So I used to win my fights. When I would grapple, I'd win just by being in good shape. You know.
Yeah. Right. This reminds me, just, you know, as we have these conversations about being a man and being a protector, and it does remind me of, you know, these are the basics of being a man, and it reminds me of faith, but also reason. Like, we can't just walk around thinking that everything's going to be okay, right?
Yeah.
We have to. We've got to man up. We've got to be prepared and ready for battle.
I thought you were going to say faith and works.
Yeah,
it works, James.
It's grit and grace, right? It's grit and grace. And like we said, it's for people like, oh, well, you know, I've got this terrible infection, but I'm not going to the doctor. God's going to heal me. That's not faith. That's presumption. So if you think you're walking down the street and you don't have to be aware, that's not faith, and that's not being loving. You know, one of the worst things you can do is be a victim of someone who's going to have to live with the fact that they messed you up for the rest of their life. You know, that's my wife in the background. She's packing because we're going to go to Montana in about 12 days.
Okay.
Awesome.
All the cowboys up there, all the college campuses.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go to EWTN for a few days.
I was going to ask, what do you have next on the schedule? I know you got your book out, and you go out and you're speaking. So you're headed to Montana?
I want to come back to San Angelo. We're going to go all through Montana, and then Sioux Falls, and then we're going to go to Alabama to be with EWTN for a few days, and then we're going to go to the Virgin Islands. And the Lord blessed us with a beautiful sailboat. And guess awesome. the maker of the sailboat is a Beneteau, which is French, but the Latin word benedictus, it means blessing. And I'm a Benedictine, so we're going to go sail for a couple months. We're just going to take a deep breath. Yeah, let's do it. You're invited.
Oh God, thanks.
He was supposed to go around the world with his family.
Circumnavigate. My wife would.
Really?
Yeah, she just.
Is that what you guys want to do? Is circumnavigate the world? Really?
I honestly really do. Yes. So for years,
I'm sure you will.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. The hard part, I don't think, is getting around the world. It's getting my wife on the boat.
To say convincing your wife.
She may not be the one. Yeah, she may not. Well, you got it. You know what you do? You know what you do? You bring her down and you sail with us down in the Virgin Islands for a week. And my wife is actually, her heritage is fishing captains, her father, her grandfather, great grandfather, her nephew, her brother, all the way back this is down in Anna Maria Island in Florida, all the way back hundreds of years till they were pirates. So she has it in her blood. So The boat is big enough. There's 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, and showers. So
Wow.
we want to
Excellent.
invite people to come and join us. So maybe that would be a
Boy.
way to
Air.
introduce her.
Watch out, Chris.
Is that
my
is that what,
goodness.
like 36 feet, 40 feet?
It's 48 feet, 17-foot
Wow.
beam. It's got a beautiful deck on the back, so it lowers,
Yeah.
and then you can dive and swim, and then get on, and there's a shower there on the back too. If you gave her that kind of experience, and this is our first time to go and do this. We just acquired the boat. We got our certifications, our sailing licenses and stuff, but we're going to go there and say, okay, Lord, book's done, TV show's done. The last season of Long Ride Home is done.
Yeah.
What is it you have for us now? And we know this. The Lord gave us, the name of the boat is the Spirit of Adventure, and the scripture verse God gave us is those that are led by the Spirit are like the wind. You don't know where they're going or where they're coming from, and so we're going to invite people to come. So,
Wow, Bear,
you guys want to come
amazing.
join us? Yeah,
Awesome.
and
yes, I do. Let me check with the wife.
I was about to say, my wife, she would come as long as she got to wear her life jacket.
The entire time.
Oh,
The entire trip.
well, in the Caribbean, the waves aren't all that. They can be, of course, but
Sure.
you're on the leeward side. You're not on the Atlantic side. Usually, you're on the leeward side, so the waters are calm, much more calm, and all of the sailing is line of sight sailing for the most part. You see the next island you're going to. It's a sailor's paradise. So
Yeah, it's only 60 miles from the East Coast to Nassau. So I mean, it's not a big deal.
That's right. That's right.
Only an hour draft.
Well, knows.
Anyway,
you already know.
Well, I got Jack Party's book. I've read it. I know how to jibe and tack. I can't say I can operate a 48-footer, but I'm preparing myself just in case.
Easier. Well, we have 4 winches. One's electronic. We have bow thrusters, so it's actually easier.
I love it.
The little ones are hard. You got to duck under the boom. You don't want to get knocked off the boat by the boom coming across and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Bear, this has been great.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you enough for being on our show. And
I talk so much, Bear, and I know I've talked a lot today. I just want to say that you're the first person to come and just set the diocese on fire with the largest men's conference, the largest group ever assembled.
You guys did that. You guys did.
Well,
you guys did that.
Well, the Holy Spirit will go up the middle there.
Yeah.
But I do want to. I just not to take the attention, but this is my first time back on the show. I've been out for months. I was in Florida, had my thyroid removed, thyroid cancer surgery. So I just want to say I moved heaven and earth to get here.
We said Bear's going to be on. Chris is like, I'll be there.
Got some legal stuff going on with work and it's been a mess. I got to go back home tonight.
You look in great shape. You must have been in great shape before the surgery.
I was preparing myself so that I could do my part. I was praying that the surgeon was going to do his part, and he did his part. I was trying to do my part to make sure I was prepared for that, and I'm excited to share this first return back with you, Bear. So
wow, how cool! I went through cancer too. I don't usually talk about it, but it's and I see a lot of people here, all these athletes here in Waikiki. Some of them they're giants, legends in surfing. But I've seen some of the beach boys here. They just get that first medical setback and then they're done.
Yeah.
But or you just say you're in shape when it hits, and then and you know how to battle back to get back in shape when it's behind you. Are you going to be okay now? Is everything okay?
Yes, thanks. I've got to go through a treatment where I'll be isolated for 8 to 9 days at the end of November. So we're in mid-October now, so about a month away. The hard part is I got to stop taking my medication 3 to 4 weeks before I go into surgery. And it was this week, today's Thursday that we're recording. It was just 3 days ago, Monday, that I really started feeling like myself again because my medication was adjusted. Now, I'll have to stop it at the beginning of next month,
cool.
Here in a couple of weeks. So prayers would be greatly appreciated.
And we'll pray for you right now and anyone that's listening that's going through a medical situation.
Awesome.
Holy Spirit, we love you. We thank you so much for life itself. We trust in you and the plan that you have for our lives. We just pray for a medical wisdom and logistics, and everything would go well, that you would give the family hope, and that that there would be a complete and total healing. And we just pray for anyone that's listening or that's going through a medical challenge, that they respond with hope and with grace and with grit, and to pursue taking whatever it takes to get healthy again. Amen. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Yeah, you got to take control of your own health, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Bear, where can our viewers find more about you? Pick up the book, all the above.
Oh, it's 12 Rules for Manliness. Where have all the cowboys gone?
Yes.
And I think it's in all the Barnes and Noble stores and stuff like that, but you can get it at Amazon.com, which we love, because then you can go online and do a review, or you can go to if you go to our website now, we're going to be gone. So best to go to Amazon.com where they can give it to you, or Sophia Publishing. But I hope you guys invite me to come back on. I love being with you guys.
Well, that's awesome.
Great.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
SophiaInstitute.com for and then Joe, can do his magic in the show notes.
Yeah, please. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, again, thanks for being with us, and we'll hope to have you on soon.
Yeah, it would be so fun, and I'd love to come back to San Angelo. And
I'm
not
about to have you
roads.
back soon, and when you're in Alabama, be sure and tell Father Mitch we said hi.
Oh, that another one of those rookies, you know.
He's a cowboy. He's a cowboy.
He loves Texas. I always imagine him walking from Chicago to Texas in his diapers with his cowboy boots on. Remember, he says, I was born in Chicago, but I got to Texas just as fast as I could.
There
Where
you
the
go.
real men are.
The first time we met him, he's standing in the grocery store parking lot in the middle of nowhere, Texas,
with a bobcat in a cooler.
Yeah. Where can I take this bobcat? I strangled a bobcat, and I need to take it to the taxidermy. And it's the first time we meet him in person.
He strangled a bobcat.
Yes, he did.
Oh yeah, he'll show you the video. He's very proud.
Enjoy your visit.
That guy.
When
we went to EWTN the first time, or the second time I went, Cindy came with me, and we sit in his. I know you guys got to go, but we're sitting in his house.
No. Yeah. Yep.
Been there. Immense library. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Immense library.
Yeah.
And then the heads on the wall, all the heads on the wall.
Yeah.
And then when I
have company, that's like part of the the characters of the living room.
I actually have one of his mounts at my house at the moment. We're trying to get it to him. So
if you swing through, we need to get it to Red Stag.
Yeah. But what was interesting is when he found out Cindy was a cowgirl, he didn't talk to me anymore. He just talked to Cindy.
Yeah. Smart man. Yeah.
That's fun.
Oh, it's great.
Man, love you guys. Invite me back to be on your show, and I'd love to come out to Texas, not just for the Whataburgers.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have Father Mitch down, and we'll take you both hunting.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be cool.
I just got to point out, you're a Baylor Bear fan, and your name is Bear.
Isn't that weird?
And so,
isn't that weird?
What a coincidence!
Yeah. There are no coincidences in this life.
Yeah, I know it's a God thing.
Amen. Amen. All right.
Thanks again, Bear. And in the meantime,
be bold,
be real,
be Catholic. God bless.